Hello friends, in this video, we look at the question, why did Jesus call the Gentile woman a dog? I know when you first hear this, you're probably thinking, did Jesus really say that? And if he did, why would Jesus say such a rude and awful thing to a woman? It sounds like he's a chauvinist. Now, before jumping to that conclusion, let's first look at the passage in which Jesus called the Canaanite woman, a Gentile woman, a non-Jewish woman, a dog, so that we know the historical, cultural, and literary context in which this incident took place. This incident is recorded in the Gospel of Matthew in chapter 15 from verses 21 to 28. Let me first read out the passage. And Jesus went away from there and withdrew to the district of Tyre and Sidon. And behold, a Canaanite woman from that region came out and was crying, Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David. My daughter is severely oppressed by a demon. But he did not answer her a word. And his disciples came and begged him, saying, Send her away, for she is crying out after us. He answered, I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But she came and knelt before him, saying, Lord, help me. And he answered, It is not right to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs. She said, Yes, Lord, yet even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table. Then Jesus answered her, O woman, great is your faith, be it done for you as you desire. And her daughter was healed instantly. So what's the context here? What's the context here? There are few things to note from this passage. The first thing to note is that Jesus withdrew to a non-Jewish district, probably for a bit of peace and quiet and rest. The second thing to note is that this woman is a Canaanite woman, that is, she is a non-Jewish pagan woman. The third thing to note is that she cries out to Jesus, Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David. My daughter is severely oppressed by a demon. This means she either knows what Son of David means, that means which means the promised Messiah. She either knows what this means, that Jesus is the promised Messiah, since he is the Son of David, or she is just saying because she heard others address Jesus that way. The fourth thing to note is that she has heard that Jesus has the ability to heal, otherwise, she would not tell him about her demon oppressed daughter. The fifth thing to note is that Jesus does not seem upset at the woman even when she is crying out to the disciples repeatedly for healing. Rather, it is the disciples of Jesus who were annoyed at the woman who was pestering them and who came and begged Jesus, saying, Send her away, for she is crying out after us. It seems that Jesus' silence toward her is an indirect invitation to the woman to persist in her request, which demonstrates a persistent faith. The sixth thing to note is that Jesus says that he was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Jesus is saying that his mission is to reach the people of Israel with his message of repentance, yet here he is approached by a non-Israelite woman. The seventh thing to note is that when the woman did not easily give up but pleaded for help, Jesus responded to her by saying, It is not right to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs. What Jesus is basically saying here is that the bread, that is the message of the gospel, the bread signifies the message of the gospel, which Jesus brought for Israel, should not be given or shared with others first. Consider this analogy. If you are a father and your kids are about to eat the food laid before them at the table, would you take the food away from your kids and give it to the dogs? Now, of course, we need to understand that Jesus did eventually share the gospel with everybody, and his disciples were commissioned to take the gospel message to the ends of the earth. But the point is that Jesus first brought the gospel message to the Jewish people. The eighth thing to note is that when Jesus uses the term dog in this context, it is not the same as the insulting term dogs, which Jews used against Gentiles or non Jewish people as unclean animals or unclean scavengers. Rather, Jesus uses the Greek kunarion, which means little dog or puppy, which is an affectionate term for domestic pets. In saying this, Jesus is not necessarily insulting the woman, but rather he is testing her faith, which leads to my last point. Ninth point. The ninth point to note is that when Jesus told the woman, It is not right to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs, the woman did not back out. She did not back out. She pressed in and said to Jesus, Yes, Lord, yet even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table. Then Jesus answered, O woman, great is your faith, be it done for you as you desire. And her daughter was healed instantly. Clearly, this woman understood that the gospel message was first given to the people of Israel, placing Israel first in priority. And as a non-Jewish person, she recognized this, yet she was effectively saying the message was also for her, like the bread crumbs falling from the table, which demonstrates her belief in the God of Israel as the only true God. She showed great and persistent faith in Jesus. Jesus was amazed at her faith, saying, "O woman, great is your faith, be it done for you as you desire." The text tells us her daughter was healed instantly. To conclude, Jesus was testing this woman's faith rather than insulting, degrading, or belittling her. It was not uncommon for Jesus to test people's faith as we see throughout the Gospels.